Welcome to Little Dreamers Bedtime Stories. Before we begin, take a deep, slow breath and feel the gentle warmth of morning sunlight spilling softly across a quiet meadow. The rustle of leaves in the forest, the distant chirping of birds, the soft patter of tiny hooves on wooden floors. Tonight's story is about a clever little family whose love and courage help them overcome a sly and hungry intruder, the wolf and the 7 little goats. So, close your eyes, breathe in the scent of fresh bread and wild herbs, and drift into The Wolf and the 7 Little Goats, a tale of caution, cleverness, and family love. Before we start, if you like what we do, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to our channel. It is very important for us.
Little Dreamers Bedtime Stories.
The sun rose slowly over the meadow, spilling golden warmth across the grass and making tiny dew droplets sparkle like scattered diamonds. The small cottage at the forest edge seemed almost to breathe with the morning light. Inside, the mother goat moved gracefully through the rooms, preparing a basket of freshly baked bread, sweetened with honey and scattered with wild herbs that perfumed the air with gentle, calming scents. The wooden floor, polished smooth by years of tiny hooves, creaked softly under her careful steps. The 7 little goats were already awake, each in their own quiet world. Some tumbled over colorful blankets, others rolled smooth stones from the garden into little paths, and the youngest lay in the sunbeam by the window, watching shadows dance on the wall. Every sound added to the harmony of their peaceful morning. The chirping of birds, the soft rustling of leaves, the bubbling of the nearby brook. Before leaving, the mother goat gathered them close. Her eyes, full of warmth but carrying a quiet seriousness, swept over each one. "Stay inside," she said softly, "and open the door only for me. Listen carefully and do not be fooled." The little goats nodded, their small ears twitching in agreement, though a hint of curiosity sparkled in their eyes. She kissed each of them on the top of their heads, and then the door closed behind her, leaving the cottage wrapped in soft, protective silence. Outside, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Shadows slid between the trees, stretching long under the morning sun. Unseen eyes watched from the undergrowth, patient and waiting. The peace inside the cottage, warm and bright, was about to be tested. At the edge of the clearing, hidden by thick brambles and tall ferns, the wolf crouched low, his golden eyes glinting with cunning. The morning light caught the shimmer of his sleek fur, highlighting each sinewy muscle as he stretched and flexed, preparing for his plan. His stomach growled quietly, a reminder of the hunger that had driven him to these woods. He circled the cottage slowly, weaving between trees, listening to the light sounds from within. Laughter, soft thumps of tiny hooves, the occasional giggle. It all painted a vivid picture of life inside. He licked his lips, calculating. Brute force would never work. He would need cleverness, patience, and disguise. The wolf climbed onto a large tree stump and surveyed the path. He practiced a soft, gentle voice under his breath, attempting to mimic the mother goat's warmth. His first attempts were harsh and rasping, but each time he adjusted the pitch and softened the edges, like shaping clay into something smooth. He inhaled the forest air, catching the scents of the cottage, hints of bread, herbs, and faint traces of his unsuspecting prey. Movement inside caught his attention. The youngest goat tiptoeing toward a sunlit patch, the oldest peering curiously at a shelf. The wolf grinned faintly. Soon, he thought, the cottage would belong to him, if only he could make the children trust him. He stepped carefully from the shadows, paused silent on the mossy ground, and began the first phase of his cunning plan. The wolf knocked lightly, a gentle tap that barely broke the morning calm. Inside, the goats froze mid-step, their ears perked and eyes wide. They remembered their mother's warning. The oldest goat crept toward the window, moving with a quiet, careful precision. Outside, the wolf forced his voice into softness, attempting warmth and familiarity. "Children," he called, "eats mama." But his tone cracked, rasping through the syllables. Something about it felt wrong. Inside, the little goats huddled together, instinctively sensing danger, their hearts beating in small, rapid rhythms. The oldest goat lifted himself to peer through the small, round window. Dark fur, sharp eyes, and twitching ears reflected back at him. He called out firmly, his tiny voice steadier than he felt. "We know you're not our mother." The wolf froze, frustration flashing in his eyes, then slowly retreated into the shadows. The house returned to quiet. Though tense, the little goats resumed their calm games, ever watchful. In the woods, the wolf muttered and paced, fur bristling, already plotting a new approach. Each misstep was a lesson. He needed a better disguise, a softer voice, a trick too clever for these clever little goats. The wolf wandered deeper into the forest, weaving between tall pines, whose shadows stretched long and thin over the mossy ground. He moved with purpose now, his frustration sharpened into determination. A gentle breeze rustled through the leaves overhead, carrying with it the scent of rain-soaked bark and distant meadow flowers. But the wolf paid no attention to nature's calm whispers. He was entirely consumed by his scheme. After a while, he found himself outside an old woodcutter's workshop. The place was quiet, except for the occasional creak of a rope swinging from a beam. Inside, hanging from a peg on the wall, was a heavy, long apron, dusty, oversized, and perfect for obscuring his familiar silhouette. He slipped it over his body, feeling the coarse fabric brush against his fur, like a disguise knitted from lies. Down by the stream, He washed off the last traces of flour, watching the white powder swirl away into the rippling water. The current sparkled where sunlight caught it, turning the surface to liquid gold. He dipped his snout again and again, softening his voice with practiced breaths until it sounded impossibly warm and delicate. He timed each inhale with the hush of the moving water, letting the sound guide the gentling of his tone. When he finally lifted his head, droplets glistening on his whiskers, he knew he was ready. The afternoon was ripening toward evening as he approached the cottage once more. Light filtered through the treetops in soft, melting shades of amber, stretching shadows across the path. Inside, the 7 little goats were restless, shuffling between windows, listening for their mother's familiar steps. Their small hearts fluttered with worry, but they stayed close together, comforting one another in whispers and touches. A slow, deliberate knock echoed from the door. The goats froze. The knock was gentle, so gentle it barely seemed to disturb the stillness in the room. Then came a soft, trembling voice, light as a breeze, brushing over petals. "My little ones, it's Mama returning home." The goats exchanged uncertain glances. The voice was warm, the timing felt right, the disguise was nearly perfect. Even the oldest, usually cautious and steady, found doubt creeping into his thoughts. He approached the door, listening carefully. But this time there was no growl, no harsh rasp, only the quiet hum of the forest behind the caller. The latch lifted. The door cracked open. And in that silent, breathless instant, the wolf lunged forward with the swiftness of a shadow slipping into the light. The goats scattered like leaves in a sudden wind, racing in every direction, tiny hooves tapping frantically against the wooden floor. Some hid behind chairs, others beneath quilts, one behind a basket of herbs. Their breaths trembled, blending with the rustling of overturned blankets and the soft thuds of furniture shifting. But the youngest, smallest, most nimble, darted straight for the tall wooden clock by the back wall. Its narrow door swung open just enough for him to slip inside. Wedged between the pendulum and the curved wooden frame, he held his breath and listened to the ticking, letting it steady his racing heart. The wolf's search was swift and efficient. One by one, 6 frightened little goats were caught, leaving the cottage silent once more, except for the faint creaking of the clock. Satisfied and confident in his success, the wolf carried off his captives into the deepening shadows of the forest, leaving behind only scattered blankets, overturned stools, and the quiet beating of one tiny heart, hiding safely inside the tall wooden clock. Following the wolf's heavy footprints, Mother Goat and her youngest kid made their way deeper into the forest. The paw prints pressed so deep into the soil that they looked like little pools of shadow, each one guiding them forward. Finally, they reached a peaceful clearing where sunlight filtered through the branches in soft, warm patches. And there, beneath the twisted roots of an old oak tree, lay the wolf. He was sprawled on his back, snoring so loudly that little puffs of dust and leaves jumped with every breath. His belly, round, swollen, and shifting slightly, rose and fell like a great, lumpy balloon. Mother Goat froze, listening. Then, from deep inside that terrible belly, she heard something faint, little voices, muffled and trembling. Her children were alive. Keeping perfectly quiet, she reached into the pocket of her apron and pulled out the small sewing scissors she always carried for mending clothes. She motioned to the youngest goat to stay close and brave. Step by careful step, they approached the sleeping wolf. With hands steady as moonlight, Mother Goat gently snipped a tiny opening in the wolf's belly. Not a single drop of blood appeared, and the wolf didn't twitch. Then, one by one, the little goats wriggled out, frightened, shaken, but unharmed. They clung to their mother in relief, but she quickly placed a hoof to her lips. "Quiet, my darlings. We must be clever now." She instructed them to hurry to the stream nearby and gather smooth, round stones heavy enough to weigh down the wolf's belly just as before. The little goats raced away, returning with their arms filled with cool river rocks. Mother Goat packed them carefully into the wolf's stomach, replacing each child with a stone until the belly was once again full and heavy. Then she stitched the opening closed with neat, tight stitches. Through it all, the wolf snored on, blissfully unaware of the trick that would soon become his downfall. Weighted by the smooth, heavy river stones now filling his belly, the wolf eventually staggered awake. Confused and unsteady, he stumbled toward a well, where the stones pulled him down with a final splash. The forest exhaled, the air brightening as peace returned. The mother goat gathered her 7 children close and guided them home through the soft glow of twilight. Inside the cottage, she lit a small lamp, its warm flame dancing gently on the walls. She brushed stray leaves from their fur, wiped away the last of their tears, and wrapped them in soft blankets. They huddled together, a single warm bundle of love, comfort, and safety. Outside, the night deepened, calm and steady. The forest seemed to sway with a protective rhythm, as though nature itself promised to stand watch. And for the first time since morning, the little goats drifted to sleep, safe in their mother's arms, wrapped in the gentle hush of their restored home. And now, dear dreamer, it's time to close your eyes and rest. May your courage be steady, like the brave little goats who found their way back to safety. May your dreams whisper with gentle forest breezes, your heart stay warm with family love, and your cleverness guide you through every shadow. Just as Mother Goat's wisdom did in the wolf and the 7 little goats.